Hello, manic.mercurian here, and I did receive a message saying I just started diving deeper than pop astrology in an effort to self-identify over the past few years. Tell me about me. I have no problem with the chart reading being public, and I may even record a live reaction if you're cool with it. So yeah, I'm cool with that. That sounds really fun. That sounds kind of like a challenge, but one that I'm definitely up to doing, especially for a fellow Virgo. I thought that would be interesting. So you have Sun in Virgo, Moon in Leo with Cancer rising, as you know. And again, I know you're into astrology, so a lot of this will probably be, already kind of known for you, already basic. But I'm just gonna kind of cover everything real quickly here anyway. Okay, so let's start out with the Sun in Virgo. So you're already kind of aware of that. You would probably have some of the, really analytical tendencies, intellectual tendencies. Virgo likes to analyze. It likes to maximize efficiency with everything it does, every little detail, and it's very, nuanced, very detail oriented. So there's that side of you. There's that grounded earthiness that Virgo has. You would have those traits for sure. I would expect that from you. However, you really have, you have not only no other Virgo planets at all, but you have no other Earth planets at all. So, what what first kind of struck me about your chart is that between the Cancer rising with Moon in Leo, which is also your chart ruler, Venus and Mars in Leo, and then Mercury in Libra, you to me would be someone who's very charismatic, much more so than a typical Virgo. Most Virgos are kind of humble. They are more introverted. They can be awkward at times because of that really analytical nature. They may analyze, the charisma out of things. They're less about, like, they're not as good with displaying their information well or displaying what they're doing well. They're more about just the bare bones of it all. But you, on the other hand, you kind of have the best of both worlds because so like let's take your Cancer rising for instance. Cancer rising people they feel very familiar to people. So people would often they feel comfortable around you, especially strangers, because you feel familiar to them already. So people may often say, "Oh, do I know you from somewhere? You remind me of someone." And you may not know this person at all, but they swear that they know you or they remind you of someone. It's just because of that Cancer rising, you feel comfortable to people. You feel, there's like this soft familiarity with Cancer, particularly Cancer rising. So yeah, that's something a little bit different maybe than what the typical Virgo would have. But also, being a Cancer rising, the position of the moon is very important. The position of the moon is always important, just because I would say that's probably the strongest placement for getting to know a person better than anything. But especially for you, since it's your chart ruler, it's even that much more significant. And with moon in Leo, especially at the first degree of Leo, 0 degrees Leo, you there's this really strong vibrant warmth with Leo, and even though this is your moon sign we're talking about, so it's typically like the inside of the personality, the part of you that you have to get to know someone first to get to know their moon sign. For you, it's a little bit different. Having a moon sign in such a fiery, outgoing, vibrant sign like Leo, such a more extroverted energy, very energetic, that would permeate through the Virgo sun. So you have maybe a cooler exterior slightly, but that warmth, that that vibrant, warm nature of the Leo moon really kind of permeates through. So you would be kind of outgoing, I would think. You might have a little bit of an introverted side with the Cancer rising and Virgo sun. Like you seem kind of like an ambivert to me because you are comfortable with being outgoing and being a leader to some capacity here, especially with the Aries midheaven, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, and particularly so with Virgo Sun, Leo Moon, it gets interesting because there can be some like sharp, sometimes like you may come off as judgmental or cynical at times. Having the Virgo Sun, which can be a little bit critical, or it has that analytical nature, which can be hard for people to take sometimes. That can actually be broadcasted out by your Leo Moon because you're so outgoing and so confident. You feel fine like broadcasting a lot of that out. So you would run the risk of being like maybe too sharp or critical at times. Maybe being a little bit abrasive. However, you also have this really great charisma as well. It's like a double-edged sword mixing Leo with Virgo because it can be really critical and like kind of overbearing at times. But also there's this really genuine warm charisma as well. Both energies can be really nurturing, charismatic, really funny as well. Mixing Leo and Virgo, I would think you might have a really maybe sarcastic sense of humor, like a clever, maybe more dark, or you're kind of an intellectual, so you don't want just like super obvious humor. You like kind of maybe something dark or dry, sarcastic at times. But yeah, with Leo Moon, I would think you'd be a really kind of upbeat person, humorous, maybe slightly critical at times, but generally really warm, really charismatic, funny. And again, with that Cancer rising, strangers just open up to you. It's probably very easy for you to make friends, make connections, I would think. Venus and Mars and Leo really back that up as well. Venus and Mars do pertain somewhat to your personality, or excuse me, to your appearance. Um, Definitely your personality, but I meant your physical appearance. And then also, there's a lot to do with desire and attraction, as you probably know, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. But it does kind of bleed into your generic personality, since these are inner planets we're talking about. And having Venus, Mars, and Moon in Leo means that there's really a big chunk of your personality there. So I think you would relate a lot to Virgo, but if you were to look up like sun sign in Leo, even though you don't have sun in Leo, you have Venus, Mars, and Moon there, so you would relate to the general archetype of Leo. So you'd be very outgoing, energetic. I kind of covered a lot of that already. Charismatic. Um, I don't know. There's a warmth with Leo, a vitality, and Leo can be maybe like attention seeking at times, but at the same time they're very generous with their warmth, with their energy. They broadcast that energy, and they keep everything upbeat. So yeah, you would have kind of all those qualities, those radiant qualities of Leo. Yeah, and then you've got Mercury retrograde in at 0 degrees Libra, which is pretty interesting. And then it actually makes a sextile to your moon, since your moon is at the first degree of Leo. Mercury's at the first degree of Libra, so they make a sextile there. That's really nice because you would have a naturally kind of beautiful way of articulating your emotions, your deep feelings. You would feel pretty smooth with that. Like there's not some huge filter or like bureaucracy in your mind where you have to figure yourself out. I would say that you find it pretty natural to communicate. You readily understand where your stance is on things, so that's not hard for you. And with Mercury in Libra too, that would mean that because you have Mercury in a different sign from your Sun, that's actually kind of rare. Most people have Mercury and Sun in the same sign. So for most people, Mercury's the intellect, Sun is the ego. Having them in the same sign means that they're kind of unified to some extent. Because yours are in different signs, your ego, your identity, your self-expression, much of that would be like Virgo, so the grounded, earthy, analytical. But Mercury, which represents your intellect, is actually in Libra. So you would there's more of a kind of detachedness with Libra. So intellectually and mentally, you can kind of detach from yourself and kind of weigh the pros and cons of things. You can see yourself as an outsider or see yourself from an outside perspective, which could be nice, I guess. And it really kind of balances these Leo qualities because you have all those placements in Leo that we talked about. So you're very confident, you're self assured. Leo is so warm and outgoing and vibrant, but in a very consistent way. So that's where it gets a lot of really strong confidence. Like Leos know who they are. They kind of feel like they're the best, which isn't wrong. We can all believe that we're the best in our own way. Everyone's unique and has something else to bring to the table, something that no one else has. I think Leos are just more aware of that. So you have all that. But anyway, the point I was trying to illustrate is, Mercury in Libra is more of a detached placement. Mercury in Libra runs the risk of being indecisive, but because you have all these Leo placements, you would be pretty good with that. So I would see you as very confident, very outspoken. I would say you have probably some very strong opinions. I would say you have very high standards for yourself. That's something that both Leo and Virgo have in common. Very high standards for yourself and high standards for other people as well. And then there's that mix of being maybe blunt, critical at times, but also very warm and kind of charming. I covered a lot of the general personality. I want to talk about your Aries midheaven. So I really see you as kind of a leader, not only because of all those Leo placements, but you have a nice balance. You have like you're balanced elementally with these different elements. You've got the Cancer rising for water, the Leo planets for fire, the Virgo sun for earth, and then Mercury and Libra. So all those are kind of the inner planets plus the rising are kind of the bulk of our personality. So that's pretty well rounded. So you can kind of do it all. You can be confident and spontaneous, like a fire sign, but also grounded and earthy, like an earth sign, but also a little bit detached with that Libra Mercury, and then still have that sensitivity of the Cancer rising. Um, but then Aries midheaven shows that with your career and your reputation, you're seen as a leader. You're seen as someone who is spontaneous at times, impulsive maybe. You probably don't like being what to told. You probably don't like being told what to do at your place of work, in your job, in public. You really want this independence. You want this independence because you can be really very expressive and impulsive, spontaneous at your place of work. So you don't want to be confined in any way. You want room to breathe and to experience all the different kind of whims and wills of your being, because you're very energetic and outgoing professionally. So Aries midheaven to me is typically someone that's their own boss. Usually they have some kind of story of like, yeah, I tried to work for someone else, but they were a dumbass in their words. Or they, again, like Aries midheaven, they if they do work for someone else, it has to be someone that they respect, and the Aries midheaven person needs their own room to breathe, their own room to be free. Okay. If they can't have that, they're just gonna, they won't be able to work for someone else. They'll have to have their own business or do something kind of on their own. So in short, Aries midheaven to me that shows maybe a business owner, or again, if you work for someone else, it's got to be someone you truly respect who gives you room to have your own sovereignty in some capacity. And yeah, that really matches up with a lot of your other placements. Virgo itself typically prefers to work for someone else. However, again, you don't have a lot of placements there. You do have Virgo Sun, so you're okay with doing the work, putting in the work. You're okay with kind of taking care of these minor details, the stuff that's not super glamorous. But then you've also got these Leo energies where you do kind of dream big. You've got a lot of energy, and you're maybe a little bit idealistic at times, but you're also willing to put in the work to make these kind of big dreams come true. Um, so yeah, I think I don't know, you have like a lot of vision. I think you're kind of goal oriented. Again, you've got really high standards for yourself. So I don't know what you would do. It really could be a whole range of things. I know I'm talking you up a lot, but yeah, I really think all this is true. Like you're good with people. Um, you're very independent though. um, let's see. So yeah, I don't know what kind of industry you would do. I think something where you could utilize all of that. Utilize your detail orientedness. You can be a very hard worker as well. You've got high standards, good at working with other people, but you need to do something on your own too. So something that kind of can incorporate all of that would be the best for you, I think. Which really could be, almost anything. The midheaven in Aries is ruled by Mars, which is in Leo. So that would really point to something where you command a lot of attention, where you're a leader. You're, I don't know, everybody's looking at you, everybody's looking to you for guidance or for leadership. You're leading people in some way. Something of that nature. Like almost like, I wouldn't say like as far as a literal celebrity, but something, of that nature where you can command a room, command attention, lead groups of people, something of that nature. You look like a leader, I guess. Okay, let's talk about more romantic stuff here. So, romantically, the major 2 points I would look at are the Capricorn descendant and Venus and Mars, which are both in Leo. So, all of these together points to, you want to be with someone really strong-willed. Someone who really knows themselves, who has a strong personality. That's what you're attracted to. You want someone really confident, who knows what they're doing. Maybe someone very professional, someone who has like status or power, status, wealth, someone who um, I don't know, knows what they're doing, and someone who's more experienced as well. So, Cancer rising, you are. Don't take this the wrong way. You're a bit of a softy with relationships. You're very nurturing, which isn't bad at all. It's that's what you bring to the table. You want to be very nurturing to your partner, kind of sensitive, which I think is interesting because most of your personality isn't like that. You're more kind of like rugged personality wise, or just like I was talking about earlier, you have that like sarcasm and the dryness, and you can be a bit brash or outgoing. But in relationships, you're kind of a sweetheart. You like to be very nurturing and supportive of your partner. And being a Cancer rising with Capricorn descendant, it means that you kind of wouldn't mind your partner being sort of the boss of the relationship. And what I mean by that is they would be the one to kind of take care of the more mundane things of your relationship. So like, I don't know, they would be in charge of maybe like the finances or I'm not saying they have to be, but they would be in charge of things of that nature. They'd be more aware of your long-term goals, or like, like Capricorn is the like Capricorn builds the home, Cancer makes it a home. Like Cancer is the inside of the home, Capricorn builds the outside, the walls, the foundation, the structure. Maybe that's what I'm getting at. So your partner would kind of have that physical structure of the dynamic between you guys. They would be the more grounded one, the rock, I guess, and you'd be the more nurturing one, if that makes sense. So yeah, a lot of the time that would be someone older. Capricorn often represents like an older, someone more experienced, and even if they're not literally older than you are, you'd be attracted to someone maybe more experienced than yourself. So someone who has that Capricorn, those Capricorn traits and qualities of being experienced, sometimes older, maybe slightly bossy at times, or like in charge. Let's see what else. Capricorn, someone earthy, down to earth, humble, grounded. Um, that's to me what's more important than anything else. The descendant is always really important. So astrologically, that may be someone who literally does have placements in Capricorn. That would be probably the highest possibility more than anything else. Um, let's see, Capricorn, but it doesn't have to necessarily be literally a Capricorn person. It could just be someone who has an astrology that results in them having Capricorn like traits. So other possibilities would be definitely some earth in there would be really important, especially as a Virgo sun. You already resonate with the earth element, and being a Capricorn descendant, you need earth in whoever you're going to be in a romantic relationship with. And this applies to other partnerships as well, but especially romantically. So that could be Virgo or Taurus. Virgo in particular, since you are a Virgo as well. Having dealing with someone else who is an Earth sign, especially a Virgo, there would be an opposites attract there, so you would complement one another for reasons that I kind of just described. But also because you are Earth as well, there'd be a friendship, there'd be a easiness there. You already kind of relate to each other and understand each other. So yeah, in short, Earth would be most important. Capricorn may be more likely than the others, or Virgo. Taurus could work too. I just, Virgo and Capricorn in particular, I see you really being attracted to. Other than that, though, let's go back to the Venus and Mars in Leo. Venus and Mars, as you probably know, do correlate a lot to desire, attraction. A lot of that is romantic and sexual. Venus being more romantic and Mars being more sexual. But both are in Leo, so that shows that with relationships, desire, attraction, a lot of that is Leo-esque for you. So especially what you're attracted to in a more immediate sense, like physically or sexually again, that would be Leo. So you want someone really confident, outgoing, someone who is very independent and very energetic, fiery, very fiery. And again, that will probably be Leo, but it could also be Sagittarius or Aries, any kind of fire in there, someone really confident, strong willed. And this shows that in relationships, you are very strong willed as well. You would take on, like in relationships, you would be more like your Venus sign. So you would be very confident, outgoing. You already are those things anyway. You have your moon in Leo. So this wouldn't be a super different side to your personality. It would just kind of reinforce what's already there. That the warm, vibrant side to your nature, that outgoing side that you already have, would be very present, and not only confident, but also very playful. Leo likes to play and have fun, so you really want to have fun with a partner. That's what's really fun to you. So yeah, you'd be most attracted to Leo or other fire signs. So in short, Capricorn descendant is more of what you need in a relationship, Leo, Venus, and Mars are what you want in a relationship, if that makes sense. So of course, both are ultimately important in different ways. So in short, for a relationship, for romantic compatibility, I would say definitely some earth, but you also need some fire in there as well. So you want someone grounded, humble, pragmatic, but also really energetic, vibrant, confident as well. And again, that's probably going to be someone maybe older than you, more experienced, or maybe just I don't know, something of that nature. Someone that you can kind of look up to. That's sort of what you want. Yeah, and for your astrology in particular, that seems relatively easy because you're attracted to energies that you already kind of have yourself. So there's not a huge degree of contrast there. It would be pretty relatively easy for you, and especially with your Cancer rising and your Mercury in Libra. Um, I think that's kind of the beauty of this chart. You are so strong-willed and kind of stubborn at times. You got some really strong opinions that you don't want to budge on, but at the same time, there is some degree of compromise. You can kind of blend with other people just enough to kind of make it work. So I feel like relationships would be relatively kind of a little bit easy. It would be maybe more simple for you to find people you can really click with, um, because of the way that your astrology is designed. Okay, let me kind of look around here. I covered most of what I want to talk about. You have South Node in Sagittarius. That would indicate, some astrologers believe that that would indicate that in past lives you really resonated maybe too much with Sagittarian archetypes. You may have been a traveler in a past life, or a businessman as well. Sagittarius is known for being kind of like a business man or woman. Um, let's see, or a traveler of some kind, or someone who maybe like a priest. Sagittarius could be a lot of things. Sagittarius has many different facets. But Sagittarius, I guess, at its core, deals with different energies or different realms of consciousness, or maybe physical realms of the earth. Different Sagittarius is branching out to those very far energies. People of different cultures or socioeconomic backgrounds, different kinds of ideas, cultures, beliefs, also the philosophical beliefs. So in short, in a past life, you may have dealt too much with that. You may have been maybe too idealistic, or always, going very far, or going to these really broad ideas, but neglecting the more mundane aspects of life. Or what else? You may have been really wanting to be the best at these like huge pastimes or pursuits. Like you wanted to be you like okay, for instance, like maybe you wanted to have the biggest business, the most successful business, but you neglected to even know like how to work the register at your business or something like that. Like you would favor the Sagittarius but neglect the Gemini. Okay. So coming into this life, hopefully I've illustrated that. I don't know. But coming into this life, you're good at the Sagittarius stuff. You're good at being really, very self-assured and knowing what you believe in, feeling that so strongly. It's harder for you to kind of show your work, so to speak. So, you have these really lofty, complex ideas. How did you get there, though? What are the steps? Or what are the more mundane ramifications of that? Also, how do you, like, let's say you believe really strongly in what you believe, uh, you have to have some level of detachedness in order to talk to people who have differing beliefs, which that could be very difficult. So what I'm trying to kind of illustrate here is that you're good at the Sagittarius stuff, and that's great too. I'm not saying that that's bad at all. You'd be good at understanding complex or philosophical ideas. You'd be good at dealing with very different environments than what you're used to, or people that are different than what you're used to. And that's really great. Those are all strengths. But what the nodes are showing is that you also, in this life, must incorporate the more Geminian themes of learning to be detached, learning to be more diplomatic, and let's see, more receptive to others at times, learning how to maybe camouflage yourself just a little bit. You can still, of course, keep that essence, keep that really fiery strength and that strong will, keep all that, but then also maybe just mold the outer edges of it just enough to be receptive to others. That way you can share your ideas that you're so feeling so strong about, if that makes sense. Um, See, hopefully that makes sense. But and this is probably, I think you're born in the 80s, so like this is something you've already worked on a lot. It would especially come in waves of 9 years. So at age 9, 18, 27, etc., 36, and so on, you would really get more into those themes and really kind of learn, get out of your comfort zone and learn more about the Gemini way of things. So learning, especially learning not to take things so seriously. I think that's one big part of it. Having all that Leo energy, the Virgo energy is really great. You have a lot of strengths. You push yourself really hard. You want to be the best at what you do, which is awesome. And I think a lot of people look up to you. I think you're I would bet you money that like there's probably things in your life, maybe professionally or maybe hobbies that you are very, very good at. Like you are a very skilled person. And that's really great. I think a lot of people look up to you for that. But another part of it though is that you don't always have to push yourself with everything. You don't always have to take everything really seriously. I should probably like take my own advice with certain things, but that's what the North Node in Gemini is showing that it's okay to relax sometimes and detach and not take everything so seriously, and to incorporate that. You can still keep the high standards, and that's what makes you so great is the very high standards. You can keep that, but also when it's appropriate, you can incorporate detachedness into it as well. And again, like I said, this is probably something that you've already learned over the years. So, we've got Jupiter in Sagittarius. That's really cool. It's in domicile, so you naturally kind of attract abundance. Um, and that's my probably main takeaway from this chart is that yes, you are a Virgo, but you're a very fiery Virgo. You're energetic. You're passionate. You're idealistic. You got big dreams. You've got really great leadership abilities too. You have that energetic charisma, that fire, that passion that Virgo itself doesn't necessarily have that. Virgo is more about refining things, and you're good at that too. But Virgo itself doesn't have that spark of creation. So that's really powerful that you have both. You can have the big dreams, you can be idealistic and have a super big dream, but also know how to put the work in to implement it to make it reality. That you have that pragmaticism. So that's really cool. Well, you've got Pluto and Libra, so you're part of the generation that experienced one of the first, like at least in the Western countries, the first major waves of divorce. Your parents were divorced, and then so you kind of inherit this struggle that has to do with relationships. Now, I did talk about earlier about how I feel like relationships would be relatively easy for you, but as your whole generation has this, and you were born at the end of this of Pluto and Libra, but that whole generation has that struggle to do with relationships and how do you have power in relationships? How do you feel secure? Um, and like I said, I could be wrong, but I feel like other people of your generation would find it more difficult than yourself. You don't have a lot of really harsh aspects to Pluto. You don't have a lot of other energies kind of there, but you would deal with that being of that generation. Also, kind of similarly, you have Saturn at 0 degrees Scorpio, which is really interesting because you have three planets. You have Moon, Mercury, and Saturn all at 0 degrees of different signs, and therefore they are aspecting each other. So first, Saturn and Scorpio would mean that you're challenged with. This is kind of a hard one. So, well, first, Saturn for all of us shows what we are initially very challenged with, but and we're not really helped in that area. We're not, we don't have any inheritance or guidance really. We have to really push ourselves and really learn how to overcome this really big challenge that we have. And then ideally later in life, especially getting into your 30s, you'll learn to start really mastering whatever that is, whatever you initially really were challenged at. So for you in particular, Saturn is in Scorpio. Scorpio does pertain a lot to sexuality, but also it's more than just sexuality though. It's like security. Yeah, I think security is a good word. Security could be like financial security. Scorpio wants to. It pertains a lot to hidden finances. So like investments, stocks, or bonds, or savings accounts, things of that nature, like interest. Um, but also, so that's kind of how you support yourself, how you ensure that you are secure. But it's also emotional too. It's not just financial or physical. A lot of it is emotional. So especially early on, it'd be hard for you to be intimate with other people or to trust other people. Um, and this is especially difficult for you because you have your moon squaring Saturn by degrees, so it's pretty exact. So it would be very difficult for you to feel secure with other people early on, and there is probably some trauma into this. These are some dark themes, so I don't. I'm sure you're comfortable with this since you're getting into astrology. I hope. But yeah, I would expect some pretty dark, intense moments, some trauma early on pertaining to feeling abandoned by people, feeling um, I don't know, like other people wounded you or you trusted them and they kind of betrayed you. Really kind of intense themes of that nature where you did feel powerless. You felt like you couldn't trust anyone. You felt like you weren't secure, like you didn't have, I don't know, a lot of security. And again, that could be financial, but also emotionally, intimately, maybe sexually as well. So it'd be hard for you to relax in those areas and to grow in those areas. But again, going back to Saturn, ideally we overcome those challenges. It is very difficult, especially you probably did make a lot of progress with this in your late 20s, 27, 8, 9, when you experienced your first Saturn return. So you're probably better, I would expect, and especially with your, again, going back to you're very strong-willed with your Leo placements, and with Virgo Sun, you want to fix things, you want to grow, you want to adapt, and also it's just the natural way of Saturn. So with all that in mind, I would say that I would expect that you probably have made a lot of progress with this, that you have overcome a lot of it, and that learning to overcome all that would result in you feeling very secure, very comfortable with yourself, both financially, with investments, with money, especially with dealing with other people's money. So like, you know, people in your household that you may depend on for like rent or something of that nature. And then also the intimacy, the sexuality, and the emotional dependence with other people. Um, all that would be very difficult for you early on, but I would expect by now it, these have become easier for you because you've worked hard in these areas. You've overcome a lot of these really heavy challenges. Maybe astrology is a part of that, of getting over, not, I shouldn't say getting over, but integrating these traumas or these wounds, and making peace with them. I'm sure you've made a lot of progress with those already. Another aspect that's interesting, you have Mercury pretty much exactly conjunct the IC. I just realized I forgot to talk about kind of your childhood, so let's get into that. So having Mercury conjunct the IC, that to me shows that your mother or maybe your father as well really valued your education. Like that was ingrained when you were very young. Um, yeah, you were taught to be intellectual, to kind of weigh things, but then there's also this Libra, Mercury and the IC are at 0 degrees Libra right here. So that would show you you were in this environment that was maybe very intellectual, very educational. You were pushed that way to be an intellectual. And I think in many ways you are that, but you also have this kind of very fiery, outgoing side that we talked about as well. Let's see, and excuse me, your parents, especially your mother, may have been very Libra-like. So maybe literally with Libra in their astrology, or maybe other air signs like Gemini or Aquarius. But another thing is you have Moon in Leo though, so that would show that your mother would be more kind of outgoing and fiery as well. So it would show that your mother would be where you get that fiery, charismatic, outgoing, energetic, passionate, idealistic side. Sorry to just throw all these adjectives on you, but you get what I'm saying. That fiery element would, to me, judging by your astrology, it would be kind of inherited or taught or whatever by your mother and your mother's side of the family. That would be the more outgoing side. Sun in Virgo, Saturn in Scorpio. That would indicate that your father's side or your father maybe would be more kind of stern or more introverted, more heavier elements. Not physically, but like personality wise, kind of maybe a little bit more dry or reserved. Um, let's see. And then having Sun in Virgo with Moon in Leo would show that your parents may have been very, very different from one another, which I already kind of described. But, and that's where there's this contrast within you because when you grew up, you didn't always know what to expect. It changed dramatically at times. And so that was initially very confusing during your childhood because you didn't know how to be exactly. But as you mature, it just creates a lot of contrast within you. So that's where you do have these differing sides of your personality. You can do the like humble, groundwork, introverted Virgo side, but you can also do this fiery, outgoing, larger than life Leo side as well. And the where those came from was the contrast within the home when you were growing up. That's pretty much my take on your chart. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. So, as always, if you have any questions or if you'd like me to delve into anything further or to clarify anything, I would love to continue our correspondence. But yeah, thanks for the request. And very interesting chart. I hope I covered it well for you. And I'll talk to you later.